Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There can be few more terrifying things than going to a doctor's with a little niggle and finding out that that little niggle is something far more serious, that it is in fact cancer. And yet for so many people this happens. Fortunately, cancer is something that can be treated in a vast majority of cases, provided of course that it's caught early and that treatment begins immediately, certainly within a few days or a couple of weeks at most. The longer you leave it, the less chance your rate of survival. We now are going to have a look at these cancer rates that have been announced by the SNP government to show how bad it is and why, if you are within the Scottish NHS and you have cancer, you are almost certainly going to die of it, because cancer treatment is so bad. It is shamefully bad, and it is all of course at the hands of Michael Matheson, a man who really doesn't care. After all, he's probably got private health insurance, which means cancer gets treated within days using the very best treatments available. Let's have a look to see how awfully bad this is and how much worse it's going to get. Here goes. Now with cancer, as you know, time is of the essence. Sometimes days, even hours could possibly make a difference. And so for people to wait weeks or even months between diagnoses and the start of treatment is effectively giving them a death sentence. Not that the SNP cares, of course. Oh no, it's got other fish to fry. There's far more important things than cancer care. You know, glossy brochures, foreign embassies, that sort of thing. And so for Michael Matheson to sit again presiding over this failure in the NHS, it goes to show that despite all the other problems, despite him being a liar, despite him being a fraudster, despite him being an awful father, despite him worrying terribly about the contents of his iPad ever coming out and him being accused of, terrible things, we will just leave it there. Despite all of this, the man needs to go because he's totally inept at his job and it's costing people their lives. Millions upon millions of people put in risk. There's nearly 1 million people dealing in Scotland with health issues. And he's doing nothing. Because he can't be doing his day job when his mind is on other things. And now, how many people are going to die because they aren't getting cancer treatment? Again, because this man refuses to do his job. But it isn't just this man, of course. Yesterday, in the budget, we saw again a real terms cut in money to the NHS. It cannot go on. How many people have to die before the people of Scotland realise what the SNP are doing to them? Anyway, Michael Matheson is on the line for truly terrifying NHS cancer stats. And when you see these numbers, you'll see how bad they are. And I'm not just talking bad. The word terrifying is actually accurate. Cancer waiting times were missed by the NHS health boards on a national scale as the SNP face another week of calls to improve the service. How can they possibly improve anything when you've got that incompetent, lying, thieving toady sitting there not doing his job? The SNP Health Secretary Michael Matheson has been faced with the appalling reality that cancer patients are being left waiting months to begin treatment. There's going to be people, and we know this, there's going to be people who, had they begun treatment immediately or within a very short period, will have survived. But they're now at stage 4 cancer. They're dead. They're walking dead. Simply because the NHS in Scotland didn't treat them. And who's responsible? Matheson. Matheson, the mass murderer, it could be called. Because unless he pulls his finger out and does his job, he is deliberately letting people die. He knows it. We know it. The man is not doing his job. He's not capable of doing his job, and people are dying because of it. Recent stats from Public Health Scotland found cancer waiting times have soared, with the 62-day standard being missed by every single NHS health board. NHS Grampian, NHS Fife, Lothian, Greater Glasgow and Clyde, they have failed further as they missed the target that requires 95% of patients to start their treatment within 31 days. And they're failing to meet that. In the quarter ending 30th of September 2023, more than 1 in 4 patients had to wait 62 days or more. A quarter of all cancer patients having to wait months, multiple months, to begin treatment. That could be death sentence because Matheson, the master debater, won't pull his finger out off his knob and do something about it. Why? Because he can't. He's inept. He's stupid. He's ignorant. He lacks empathy, sympathy and humanity. He doesn't want to do the job. He doesn't want to do anything that would be in any way helpful to people. He just wants to swan off around the world with an iPad and sit in a hotel room. The stats have been called truly terrifying by opposition MSPs who tell Mr Matheson we can't go on like this. The data marks yet another year where the NHS failed to meet the 62-day standard on a national scale. The last time this happened was 2012. Now, of course, I've said Matheson will be on private medication, private medicine. So, of course, he gets a little niggle, goes to see the doctor. Oh, you got this, bang, 3-4 days. He'll be off, Harley Street doctor. Oh, yeah, we'll get you there. We'll get you on a nice big fat private hospital, excellent menu, hot and cold running nurses, and the best treatment with the latest drugs will be pushed into his system and he'll be fine, thank you very much. It's okay for him. But look to your nan, look to your sister, look to your son. When your kid's lying there with leukemia and you're not even going to be getting in for treatment for 2 months, just think of Matheson sitting there in his hotel room, pants round his ankle, knocking one out on his iPad. That's what you've got to remember. Scottish Conservative Shadow Health Secretary Dr Sandesh Gillane said these figures are truly terrifying. It is appalling that well over a quarter of cancer patients didn't start treatment for over 2 months after they were diagnosed. It should be 7 to 10 days maximum. Everyone knows somebody who's being diagnosed with cancer and is starting treatment as quickly as possible is crucial to patients' chances of survival. Yet no NHS board in Scotland is meeting this target. And they can't. They can't possibly, because you got the likes of Shona Robertson who's going cut, cut, cut. And they're cutting the budgets to the NHS every year. Every year. For 17 years, they've cut the budget to the NHS. Now they'll lie, they'll spin, and they'll go, oh yes, but we gave them 100 million this year. Yes, 100 million. Sounds a lot. It's less than £1 million per hospital. Does it sound a lot now? Less than £1 million a hospital? Well, let me tell you, the uplift of £1 million per hospital is that, because they're already behind. Because that 100 million pays about half of that's gone, let's just say, in the pay demands that they didn't even argue about. So you're only down to 50 million. So, $500,000, less than $500,000 a hospital, 365 days, 3 shifts. It's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot. And it's a real term cut. If you truly wanted to match inflation, 10%, you'd have put an extra billion into the NHS. But they couldn't do that because they haven't got it, because they've wagged it away on foreign embassies, on spin doctors, on private detectives investigating people who they don't like. People are dying. People are dying all around them and they just don't care. Anyway, cancer waiting times have been heading in the wrong direction, and the scandal-ridden Michael Matheson is presiding over a ticking time bomb. He must urgently get a grip of this crisis now, or otherwise there will be devastating consequences. No, I don't want him to get a grip of this crisis. I want him to resign, not just as a minister, but as a politician, and get the hell out of Dodge. We don't ever want to see that lying, thieving bastard's face again. And I'm sure neither does his wife after he threw his kids under the bus. That's the thing that really sort of grinds my balls. Because, what kind of father is he? But he's an example, isn't he? And he's an example of an inhumane piece of human turd, really. And yet he's the one running the health service, or failing to run the health service. Scottish Labour leader Jackie Bailey said these statistics should be sounding the alarm throughout the government and plainly show that Scotland is in the grip of a cancer care crisis. 3 years on from the pandemic, and Scotland's cancer services have still not recovered, with vital targets being missed repeatedly. Cancer remains Scotland's biggest killer. No, the SNP remains Scotland's biggest killer. Let's make no bones about that. Anyway, but successive health ministers, including the big one, Humza, have completely failed to support our NHS and tackle this crisis because they quite literally don't care. It's only the poor people. It's only the people who don't have private health insurance who are dying. So, you know, sod them. Sod them. We don't care. We know that the stupid people who vote for us will continue to vote for us even when they're burying their children because they couldn't get their children in and get cancer care. But they'll still vote for us because they're all f***wits. I'm coming up. You have to ask, how many people are going to die? How many people are the SNP willing to slaughter through their lack of medical care? Medical care, hospitalisations, medications, first aid, trauma care, all those sort of things. All comes in under, medical care. And that is a human right. The European Convention on Human Rights says so. To deny medical care to people is a breach of those human rights. That means the SNP are committing crimes against humanity. And still their mindless, zombie, stupid supporters will still vote for them. They'll vote for them as they're burying their kids. They'll vote for them as they're being lied to in their face. And they know that they're being lied to. And they still vote for them. And that really means there's no hope for Scotland if you get people that stupid still voting for these crooks. And they're worse than crooks. They're sociopaths, psychopaths. They're heartless, human pieces of turd, really. And yet still, people vote for them. You have to wonder the mentality of their supporters. Something must be deeply, deeply broken inside them. That they're incapable of seeing the truth. And they're incapable of registering how much harm has been done to them. You know? The SNP will piss in their cornflakes and tell them it's milk, and they will just eat it up. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please subscribe. Do please hit the like button. Do please share the video. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of hospital, get yourself checked, and goodbye.